Blast from the grassroots, connecting people and sharing ideas.
Good morning. Welcome back to Blast from the Grassroots. This is Grace.
This is Gowri.
Actually, we have to change the title. It's ABC Focus.
It is ABC Focus
Pardon
on Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
That's correct.
Where we focus on one particular aspect of ASEAN or any ASEAN element at all every Monday, just to clarify things for our listeners.
And then today, continuing from the last week, we discussed of the RCEP, and then we're gonna talk about another ambitious 21st century trade agreement, which is TPP. TPP stands for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. There was an agreement that the United States is negotiating with 11 other countries.
And it aims to further liberalize the economies of the Asia-Pacific region, and it covers also, like the RCEP, a very broad spectrum of areas and has 29 chapters already. Some of the areas affecting public health, environment, and court system.
And then the countries that are involved, it actually covers quite a huge area. And then there are 11 other countries as well, including Australia, Brunei, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, United States, and Vietnam.
And this TPP is definitely a very a big deal. It is very ambitious, and as we all know, Obama, of course, came down just a few months back to have kind of like a Southeast Asian tour to meet with the prime ministers, presidents of all the countries over here to discuss with them the pros and cons of the TPP and to also get everyone on board in that sense.
And in fact, there are a lot of controversial issues that has been releasing regarding TPPA. So we're going to cover a lot of elements today, from positive elements and where the TPP should be ambitious, or which area that TPP should be cautious, and where are the high risk area, and how this TPPA itself will have the single undertaking and the flexibility itself.
Actually, what's really, really interesting about the Trans-Pacific Partnership is that this is actually the first time that somebody is aiming to create this integration between Asia-Pacific. Before this, there was never really any solid plan. Of course, we have the ASEAN integration, but that's only within our region. But with TPP, it's the first time that we are going to have Asia-Pacific coming together for the economic partnership.
So definitely it's got the pros and cons. And then let's just talk about all those good things that TPPA carries itself. Well, it's got the technical barriers to trade for sure. And then it also helps the SMEs. And also it has non-discriminatory and economic efficiency gains. And it's also sort of a win-win situation among ASEAN region and the USA.
And apart from that, also, of course, they cover a lot of other areas like libraries, school, businesses, medicines, overseas companies, importing, banks. It seems like it's also a very ambitious plan for Asia.
Definitely, it's certainly a big deal. And then, like we mentioned several times, it is the most ambitious trade initiative pursued by the Obama, and one that will have the large impact for overall trade policy and also direction for the world trading system. And it involves a lot of ASEAN regions. Definitely, it is something that we are look forward to. But at the same time, in 2015, the Obama actually mentioned that this trade agreement will be concluded next year.
But there have, of course, been some resistance. Especially with two of the biggest countries in Asia itself, which is China and India, where they have been reluctant to join this US-led TPPA pact. And it seems that China especially is really not keen on joining TPP or getting on board with it, because of course they have their own regional comprehensive economic pact, and that is something that they are trying to push within this region. And then we have America coming in with a different plan and a different sort of ambitious move, and China is not too happy about that.
And how about India?
With India, actually, they are already having a lot of issues within the country themselves. And with Modi, who just took over, he is trying his best to reform the country. And they don't feel like they're ready, that they're there yet to join this Asia Pacific, which is a very, very huge deal.
But it's very interesting, as much as China is not really for TPPA, but then they are also open to joining this TPPA agreement, according to this high-ranking Chinese official that was held in a few months ago in China. And he also said that TPPA will actually bring some kind of benefits to China, which is actually a gigantic Asia country.
And it seems Japan is actually quite keen on joining the TPP, but they have made certain proposals where it could not be met at that time by the US part. So they have stalled things first, trying to work things out from there. As so far, there has been no progress, and they are still working on their negotiations to see how Japan can fit in with this TPP. And that's another thing when you're trying to include so many countries in your pact. All these different countries have different problems, different complications, different demands, different proposals, different negotiations, and would it be possible at all actually to get them all together and to implement the TPP?
Actually, that's also a problem that our RCEP also carries, but TPP is dominated by American. According to, so far. And then initially, well, going back to China, relationship with TPPA, is initially the Chinese reaction to its TPPA was pretty label, and that they didn't like it, and they were going against this trade negotiation. However, just recently, since Xi Jinping took office and placed economic reforms at the top of China's agenda, actually the Beijing is now they emphasize this more necessity of economic rebalancing, and also which involves both greater economic openness and a more reliance on the market forces. So both reforms that bring TPP membership closer to China's grasp. So this will definitely opens the possibilities for China to join the TPP.
And there's also, when Obama came down, actually a lot of countries resorted to protesting his visit because they knew that he was trying to sign the TPP, and a lot of people were not happy about that. Of course, Malaysia was one of the countries that was very vocal in that sense, that we were protesting against the TPP because we were not too clear about what they wanted in the first place. And of course, we don't want our government to sign it, especially without consulting the people, because when it comes to the government, especially in Malaysia, they promised to always to put the people first. So the Malaysians were very skeptical about it, and they definitely did not want our government to get involved with the TPP. Apart from that, other countries were like the Philippines, even New Zealand was actually very skeptical and did not want to get on board with the TPP because they said it will have a huge impact on not only the Kiwis but also in many other sectors, because TPPA, by signing the TPP, the US would actually have control to internal administration of each country, and that's not something that anybody from any country would want, for an outside party to come in.
And also Malaysians, like you said, they were against having Obama to the country, and they had all those posters and a signage saying that TPPA makes us walking dead. So yeah, so they were that against this agreement. However, the minister our prime minister, he said, we will try, because earlier the target was to complete it by the end of the last year, but then East Asia Summit in Bali, it was not actually possible to make a TPPA. But it cannot become a reality. As such, we are hoping to reach an agreement by the end of this year. So definitely 2015 marks a very important year for both the TPP and RCEP to conclude their agreements.
And another issue that most people are concerned about is the amount of secrecy that is surrounding the TPP, because the documents, it seems that most of the documents that are being used are all secret, and the TPP governments have agreed to actually continue the secrecy up until 4 years after the deal has signed. So when you sign the deal for the next 4 years, you don't actually know what's really contained in the documents or what we really signed for.
Definitely.
Until the end of 4 years, then we will know.
Definitely, there are quite a lot of many questions they have raised regarding the transparency and the regulatory coherence as well. And then the areas that TPP are ambitious is in good and agriculture and rules of origins, like exclusions at the starting line. US is not opening up any FTAs, sugar, and then also FTA as well, and the cross-border trade in services. But then they also should be ambitious, and it can be multilateralized at the same time.
And for people who are listening and they're thinking, oh, this is something that is very, very inter-regional. This is something to do with the government, and it's too irrelevant to the people. That is not true, because here are some of the areas that the TPP covers, like food safety and security, health, education and research, internet and cultural freedom, investment, and the legal system. And all these are very relevant to your everyday life. When you want to get healthcare, when you want food safety, when you go on the internet and you want to have your internet freedom, or even your internet safety, or your investment. So this is something that is actually very, very relevant to everybody, and it's not just a government thing, which is why there's been a lot of protest, because people didn't want an outside source to come in and control these things about us.
And then also, not to forget, like you mentioned, Gowri, before about the medicine prices. Well, how does TPP push up the medicine prices and allow companies to sue our government, which is Malaysia, for protecting its citizens? This is one of the questions they have raised before. And then the recent deal, the draft of the intellectual property rights, they suggest that the proposal has been tabled to compel TPP countries to compensate patent applicants with extension for unnecessary delays. And also, it could also delay Malaysia's access to cheaper generic drugs, as generic manufacturers could not produce and market the drugs before this patent expire.
And another interesting thing is WikiLeaks has actually released a partial draft of the TPP, and it seems that this treaty was, like I mentioned earlier, was mostly negotiated in very secret meetings. It wasn't done in the open. It wasn't very transparent, and it's very simple the way they put it here. You and I have been excluded from this the pact when they are drafting it, and the outsiders who hear about TPP are usually quite fearful about it, and they are very unsure. And it seems that copyright is also another key part of this draft, like you mentioned earlier about the patent and all. And to go back to the medical industry, they are also affected by this, because the critics say that it would actually raise the drug prices, and that will seize our access to cheaper medicines or easily already available medicines.
To me, it looks like TPP has brought so many negative questions towards this agreement, and then quite many people are also asking, well, if the TPP is kind of bad for Malaysians, why does Malaysian government want to be part of it? Because Malaysia is actually part of RCEP as well as TPP. So it's also, we can also say that Malaysia, the nation, is actually stuck in between these two major agreements. And with this TPPA, Malaysia will theoretically gain access to the market of 800 million people with the combined GDP of to 27.5 trillion US dollars. The Peterson Institute of Economics says that Malaysia stands to gain over 41.7 billion US dollars to increase in exports and also income gained by 2025 if it stays on the TPP track.
And what's interesting is if you were to Google TPPA and Malaysia, you get like 10 news about why Malaysia should not join the TPPA.
Yes, definitely.
And it's actually quite difficult for us to even find the pros of TPP
the
because
positive side.
there's been so much negative things that's being written about it. And I guess the major issue here is, like we mentioned earlier, it's the secrecy, the amount of secrecy that they are practicing, that people... I guess if people know what's really written in there, if it's very transparent, what the TPP is, and what sectors it covers, and how exactly does it affect, people would probably be more open to the idea. But the fact that it's not really readily available, it's also easy for us to believe what people say. Some party can just come in and say, oh, if Malaysia signs, you're going to lose money, your safety will be threatened. And we will tend to believe this because we don't have any other source of information, because it's just so secretive.
It is secretive, and that's when we raise the words of transparency when it comes to this such a big agreement, especially from the USA to Malaysia. But still, it looks like Malaysia is open to many opportunities when it comes to economy, and then they're also heavily reliant on international trade. And definitely, it looks like the Malaysian government believes that TPP will open doors to many markets, including the US, of course, and also this will happen after the Malaysia and US FTA talks.
And where do we actually stand in this thing, and does Malaysia actually know its position when it comes to the TPP negotiations? It seems that, like you mentioned earlier, why is our government so particular about signing this deal, especially when the people are already not happy? It definitely will open doors for us, and we are looking to go for a more international trade. We're trying to expand what we have in the region, but at the same time, it seems we also want to sort of protect the relationship that we have with US, the Malaysian-US relationship that's going on.
And also in Malaysia, the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers and the Malaysian Textile Manufacturers Associations have openly supported the negotiations, while a coalition of NGO called the Banta TPPA have been voicing their concerns through this engagement with the TPP negotiations, the media people and also people on the street. So there are also quite a couple of questions. Is Malaysia prepared to walk away from this agreement if the risks outweigh the benefits? And also, what is the progress of the negotiation when it will conclude? This is something that is already released, which will be next year, 2015.
So I guess just to summarize a little bit, what is our major problem with the TPP? And not just as Malaysians, but this speaks for all the countries that have been protesting against TPPA as well. And of course, the first thing is still the secret part that they are keeping the citizens in the dark. That's the biggest problem according to the statistics that most people have with the TPP. And second of all, foreign investors can actually sue the government if they find that any action is not in line with what the TPPA wants to achieve. And of course, more expensive medicines, which we also covered just now. We have our generics threatened. We have limited access to knowledge. It bars internet freedom, and because of that, there has been so many organizations urging us, don't let the TPPA sign our future away.
And also in a global economy, to add on to your summary, this trade policy has many impacts for every sector of the economy, and definitely that affects every single country around the world. And decisions on the trade policy are really something like it's really important decisions on the relative power of corporations and also the government. So this policy affects employment rates, wage levels, the availability of capital, environmental conditions, public health, and much more. It covers a lot more areas. we cannot allow these negotiations over these vital things to be conducted by secret bodies. It's got to be transparent and to be able to give up the more information to people to bring up the awareness as to what this mega trade agreement is about.
So let's go down to the final question. Should we sign the TPPA? What do you think?
Well, my personal opinion towards this is, where's our focus? Do we really need to have a good relationship with the countries only because we want to open more opportunities? But how about the benefits that will actually, in reality, bring to our nation? So what is our focus? Is it really economic growth, or is it the relationship that we want to build up with other countries?
And for me, I think that apart from the focus, I want to look at how realistic it is as well. So if I were to compare the TPP and the RCEP, it seems that RCEP is definitely more regional and it seems more relevant, even in terms of increasing economic growth, in terms of improving the relationship between countries. It's definitely more important to focus on our region first and work with what we have here, and then we can expand beyond. So
Definitely, that there is no such thing as a simple trade peg anymore. It's actually, the negotiations should be about the dominant global scale industry seeking to undercut the government efforts to regulate them in the public interest. And then, like we mentioned before, transparency is something that people have been looking for. And with the TPP being so secretive, it gives a lot of questions, also negative agreement towards it. But we hoped to see the better conclusion in 2015, which is coming really, really soon, between this RCEP and TPPA.
yes, and it seems like we've been bashing TPP a lot. So if any of you actually have a different source of information that you think you can give it to us, of course we welcome it. Can post it on our Facebook page or on our Twitter page for an alternative view on this.
Or you can even email to us.
Yes.
And then your opinion is always welcome. And this is Grace.
This is Gowri.
And we'll be back to our next segment later on.